welcome to today's installment of the AIAC's Diversity and Arbitration Week 2021, organized in collaboration with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, Malaysia Branch. My name is Chelsea Pollard, and I'm an international case counsel at the AIAC. Today, alongside my fellow co-interviewer, I have the privilege of interviewing Suzanne Rattray on her journey as an engineer, adjudicator, and arbitrator. We look forward to hearing more about her crossover to what some may call the dark side. On that note, I would like to introduce my co-interviewer, David Cheah. Mr. Cheah is a chartered arbitrator, registered architect, and registered town planner. He is currently practicing as an architect and town planner involved in a wide variety of architectural urban planning work, ranging from commercial, residential, and retail projects. Other than being appointed as an arbitrator in construction arbitrations, he also has been involved as an expert witness in arbitration and litigation. He holds a degree in architecture and a master's degree in urban planning. He holds a master's degree in construction law and arbitration, taught jointly at the National University of Singapore and King's College London, and completed a diploma arbitration from CEM. Mr. Cheah is a chartered arbitrator with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, UK. And with that, I will pass the mic over to David to introduce Suzanne.
Thank you, Chelsea. Today we are delighted to be interviewing Suzanne Rattray, who's a senior engineer with more than 35 years of professional experience. She has a master's degree in civil engineering from McGill University in Canada, specializing in structural engineering. She has had lead responsibilities on numerous infrastructure projects in transportation, building, and energy sectors in Zambia, Tanzania, Mozambique, Democratic Republic of Congo, Chad, and Israel. She's a director and partner of Rankin Engineering Consultants with headquarters in Lusaka, Zambia. She's been a practicing adjudicator and arbitrator since 2008 and was admitted as a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, CIArb, in 2012. She's now a fellow, and she achieved that in 2017. She's a member of the board of directors of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce International Arbitration Center from 2021 to 2024 term. She's been recognized and included on the Africa 30 Arbitration Power List 2020 by the Africa Arbitration Academy. Her experience includes international and domestic arbitrations and adjudications. Suzanne, welcome indeed, and thank you for joining us from sunny Lusaka. I hope it's sunny there.
Thank you. You know, it is. This is our dry season, so it'll be sunny all the way up to October, but it's also the cold season. So we have a sunny and maybe 15, 20 degrees Celsius outside.
Okay. All right, great. Let's get down to the interview. Having a background in engineering, what inspired you to pursue a career in arbitration, and how would you describe your journey so far?
Well, David, I wish I could say that I had a plan to pursue a career in arbitration. That wasn't, there wasn't any actual plan, as it were. Sometimes these things just are thrust upon you. So like yourself, coming from built environment background, I have been working in project management and administration of infrastructure projects for many years. And as you know, in infrastructure development, disputes always arise. So many years ago now, I remember there was the Institute of Architects were requested to appoint an arbitrator in a building dispute. There was concerns about quality of construction, strength of concrete, all the usual things that we know about from building projects. And they were looking for an engineer with experience in structures and building, and they reached out to me to be the arbitrator in dispute, and they appointed me as a sole arbitrator there. So that was really, it was an approach by an institution to be appointed as an arbitrator, no matter how I got into, how I started that journey as an arbitration. Of course, following from there, once you have a matter, then you know the things that you know, and then you quickly realize the things that you don't know. And then, of course, training to fill the gaps in knowledge and on the legal side, and the law and practice of arbitration was something which I engaged upon, and it has just a snowball from there. So I have continued. I think it has been a fit and a sort of natural progression after practicing many years on the technical side and continuing to practicing balancing with management of projects and of course the resolution of disputes as they arise. I think they are complementary processes. That's really how I got to where I am now.
When you're not acting as an arbitrator, what does your typical day look like?
Starting the computer and seeing all the emails piling in. Normally the day I have many projects that I'm at teams that I manage on engineering projects. So I will be reaching out to the discipline leads to discuss about what is upcoming, when the deliverables are expected, what we need to be doing at any particular time. So I do a lot of the forward planning. I do a lot of redlining. Especially the drawings that are coming through for checking, I usually am the last reviewer, the third reviewer on many of the deliverables for my company. So I do a lot of redlining of drawings. Engineering involves also a lot of document production. So checking the reports that accompany the drawings and checking, there's a lot of redlining, I would say, and trying to support the teams who are actually doing a lot of the engineering. Also doing the mentorship meetings. I have different teams. So I manage the teams who are responsible for structural projects. I manage the teams responsible for the environmental projects. And so and as well as the quality team, we have implemented 2 ISO quality management systems in our company. So we have a management system for our laboratory work, and we have a management system general for the company. So also dealing with the quality managers and making sure that all the documentations are in order. That's really what the day looks like, and crossing out the to-do list as I go along and still having many things hanging over till the next day. I'm sure it sounds familiar to you as well.
Yes, it does. It must be really challenging for you, especially in a male-dominated profession as well. Yeah,
I think that's, this is something that from training, I mean, even from the university days, the females are in the minority. But I think I have never considered this to be a challenge per se. I mean, it's just happened to be a fact, along with many other facts of life, which may be they may be unfortunate, or they may, whatever they are, we just deal with the facts as we find them. So as the director of the company, as one of the partners in the company, I am responsible. I'm the one that people report to. So the majority, so my staff and colleagues from other firms, of course, will already have that respect for me as a leader in the company, or as a leader professionally. So I don't have as many challenges as the younger female professionals entering the field. But it's one of the things that I feel very responsible for, is making sure that the door is open for any other female who wants to make their way into this profession, to provide those opportunities. So there are always, whenever we are discussing hiring and we're doing headhunting, there's always a discussion where the female candidates. I work closely with the universities, and I always get the list. I said, send me the list of your female candidates. And so this is a kind of trying to create spaces wherever we can, that those who want to enter the profession feel that it's a profession for them as well.
All right. What does professional diversity in international arbitration mean to you? And in your opinion, has this been achieved?
Well, I think my experience of arbitration has been that it has been dominated primarily by the legal professions. So there has been this practice of a lot, at least from what I have seen over the past 15, 20 years, of mainly lawyers looking to enter the profession. So for me, the professional diversity would be including many, identifying as many different professions as possible who can contribute to the development of the practice of arbitration. And so, of course, we know from the built environment that a lot of the built environment professionals, whether they're engineers or architects or quantity surveyors, also have made a niche for themselves. But I would really like to see a lot more diversity. For example, one of the initiatives as the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Zambia branch has been to reach out to various professional bodies to address them at their annual general meetings to talk about dispute resolution and the role of their profession in the dispute resolution space. So, for example, human resource professionals, we have had very good collaboration with them. We're finding now more showing an interest to be training in dispute resolution. We have reached out to medical administration professionals, try and get them them also on board in learning more about alternative dispute resolution. So there's a space for a wide variety of professionals. In terms of financial planning and economists, I see a big role for them to get involved, because we have a lot of disputes when issues come in terms of determining quantum and projected, DCF, things that we do as engineers when we're doing feasibility work for clients. I'm finding a lot of arbitrators struggling with the financial concepts. And really, it's something that if financial people also were trained as dispute resolution professionals, that I think they would be able to participate very effectively in a lot of disputes, and we could really create panels which have a wide variety of skills in them. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to.
How did you go about securing your first appointment as arbitrator, and how did you find this experience?
So as I said before, that the first appointment was really an institution, a professional institution. It was an institution of architects which approached me because I was known in the built environment, and I was known in terms of administration of projects. So that's how that came to me. Afterwards, I think the following appointments have been from institutions. So our Chartered Institute of Arbitrators appoints. Also, I have been fortunate enough to be appointed by co-arbitrators. So normally, there's a lot of arbitrators who get direct appointments from parties, and when they have to put a panel together looking for a chair, then I have had the fortune of being appointed by co-arbitrators to chair panels. So it's really moved, it has really moved in that way that institutions, and I think institutions have a big responsibility for trying to create as diverse panels and trying to give opportunities to new entrants into the field. But that has been, it was fortuitous. An institution approached me, and then from then I have continued to have institutional as well as party and party appointments, as well as from co-arbitrators.
Okay. What would you consider the highlight of your career as an arbitrator?
That's a tough question. One of the things that I'm really not comfortable with is thinking that the arbitrator is the the nucleus of the whole process. So I really, I have been thinking about this quite a lot in terms of what should be the objective. And I think my approach really is to focus on the dispute itself, on the disputants and the integrity of the process. And really, I think the highlights for me personally have been the approaches that I have received from young arbitrators or new entrants to the field to mentor them. When I get those approaches that people ask me if I can attach them to any matters, if I can mentor them, then I have some confidence that, okay, then maybe I am conducting myself in an appropriate way that, that others feel that comfort that there's something that they can learn from participating together with me in resolving disputes, as well as growing the profession, because it's really, I think it's really, never mind the accolades may be nice, but really it's more important is the integrity of the process and what we can do for the development of practice of arbitration and facilitating new entrants into it. So really for me, it's the approaches, the request to be mentor has been most significant.
Okay, great. It's been fascinating talking to you, Suzanne. I'll now hand over the mic to Chelsea.
Thank you. And Suzanne. All right. So one of the things you mentioned is that, having people of different backgrounds assist with the arbitral proceedings. But other than, having those, what do you think these insights and perspectives bring to the arbitral process from having the different types of backgrounds that aren't just people that are legally trained?
Well, I think it brings more legitimacy in my opinion. I think that the disputes are what is at the center. So it's not possible that every dispute is one flavor or one particular requires one particular skill set. And certainly at the level of the decision making, I find that the diversity of opinions is really helpful. I like when somebody doesn't agree with me or doesn't see things quite the same way, because then it forces you to really think deeply, to question yourself, question your reasoning, and to really go into, if you know the answer to everything already, then the process itself, and then we're not doing justice to the process. So I think that when we have different professional backgrounds, they have approaches and insights to particular issues which you will never have faced before because you don't practice in that field. So you have to listen and you have to evaluate, based on what people are telling you that you have never heard before, really where you think issues lie, and come up with and be convinced and have of the decision that you're making. So I think it's really important to challenge ourselves, and we all have our own worldview. We all have our own prejudices, which we don't even recognize. And I think that having that diversity is what's going to bring those things out, so that we can see the things which we can't see because we only know what we know. So we need to learn what we don't know. And that's really the importance of diversity.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And talking about your career, it sounds like you got, not lucky, but in terms of you had a different approach if someone came to you. But what challenges did you face? And looking back, how did you overcome those challenges as someone that wasn't legally trained when you started acting as an arbitrator? And what would you, advise to those that are facing these similar challenges to help overcome those challenges?
Well, so I think the challenge that the challenge that I may have faced is not having that maybe the other participants in the process not being convinced that I was the right person for the job, or qualified for the job, or why is this person the arbitrator for this matter? And I think a lot of that is possibly stemming from everybody wanting to be the arbitrator, but there are so many roles to be played in resolving any dispute. And I think the importance, we need, whatever background we come from, fundamentally, I mean, the arbitration process is governed by laws and rules. And whether we like it or not, we have to understand those laws and rules and apply them properly. So we have to get that training. But I mean, I have always been a very can-do sort of a person. I mean, I've never thought that there is something that I cannot learn. So I think getting that training, and certainly my involvement, so I turned to the Chartered Institute to start my training, and getting that training and getting to the level of being a faculty now has been something which has been really, I think, has been now an approach that has overcome any misgivings that anybody may have had about my suitability in terms of my qualifications to manage an arbitral process, have now been dispelled, because I am training the next generation of arbitrators. So my general recommendation to anyone who wants to establish a profession in this field, they need to be trained. Whatever you know, I mean, there's always more to know. So they should train, and they should train with the reputable institutions like CIArb or similar, and they should and they should participate in whatever fora there are. All of the different institutions have been having webinars and conferences and all kinds of there have been all kinds of opportunities for people to learn different things and read as much as you can. I mean, you need to be voracious to it. There's so much coming out every day. I mean, my reading list is incredible. I mean, I have a lot of things to get to, but you need to dedicate the time to your own capacity building, and that's in knowledge, gaining as much knowledge as you can, and with mentorship, or with attachments, or with initial appointments on maybe not very complicated matters. I think people will demonstrate. You will demonstrate through the awards that you write.
Looking at your career, and you've just been discussing the importance of training and mentorship, what other advice do you give to your mentors other than the importance of trainings and making sure that you're keeping abreast of all of the developments? Is there any other tidbits of advice that you typically give to your mentees that you could share with someone aspiring to go into international arbitration?
I think one of the things that I recommend is having that self-confidence, like being confident in yourself. So portraying that confidence and competence, understanding that everybody is improving, that there's no perfect arbitration, that one day you're not suddenly going to be the perfect arbitrator and unquestionable efficiency and correctness of awards. So just having the confidence that wherever you are on your journey, you are in a good place, you're doing the right thing. The integrity of the process is most important. Focus on the disputants, focus on the process, and every single appointment that you're going to get is going to be, you're going to do better than the ones you have done before. I mean, I have not spoken to any arbitrator who has not looked back on some of the first awards they have written and shuddered. But those they stood and they did what they did at the time, and we are always improving. So that's what we should be. We should just have that approach that everything we're going to do it better this time than we did the last time, and we're all going to move forward together in this way.
Definitely. I'm sure that you can, some of the star arbitrators in the world, I'm sure you could find some questionable awards that they've all written as well that they probably never want anyone to look into. And so looking back at one of the other things we discussed is on professional diversity. What are your thoughts on initiatives such as, the AIAC's Diversity and Arbitration Week, which this is your second time participating in because we had you last year as well, in promoting professional diversity and international arbitration?
I think these events help the general public, the arbitration community, to understand the context, to understand what the issues are, and to let that and to bring these questions to the front of their mind when we are all looking for who people to appoint as arbitrators in the matters that we may have as counsel, or even as arbitrators looking for a chair for the tribunal. I mean, this is something which I've had to deal with co-arbitrators several times, the issue of who should we approach as chair. And when we draw up this, having the discussion about age diversity, having the discussion about the professional diversity, having the discussions about gender diversity even. I mean, I find some of the conversations are difficult. And I think a lot of historical practice I have seen has been, who might appoint us in return in the future, and that's not the conversation we should be having. We need to be looking at what is the state of our industry, what can we do to make it better, and that's the real conversation we need to be having. And if, as party appointed arbitrators, we have experience, what's the harm in appointing a novice, a new entrant, as a chair? What's the harm? I mean, we're going to be doing it together. And so these are some of the things which I think this kind of fora help practitioners to start to question what is it they have been doing, how have they been approaching the issue of inclusion. And I think it's been really helpful, because I have seen in my own practice and my own experiences with dealing with co-arbitrators that this question is now, the question is now out in the open, and you can say things plainly. Are we just self-serving by creating this list, or is this really what needs to be done at this time, and why don't we do something which is good for the profession and not and keep self-interest out of it completely? We must do what's best for this process. And I think these interviews and these activities and initiatives will help more and more practitioners to really look at themselves and how they are approaching arbitration practice.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Suzanne and David. It's been a pleasure interviewing you and hearing from you and working with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Malaysia Branch and collaborating. I had a wonderful time doing this interview and getting to listen, and I'm sure our listeners will also have just as much fun as we did. So thank you both so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks, David. This was wonderful to see you both.
Great. Thank you. Thanks again.